I think this is absolutely true for my next pick as well. That is Zach Charbonnet of the Seattle Seahawks. Another guy that kind of goes in this same range where Jordan Mason does. 111th overall ADP right now for Zach Charbonnet. He's been kind of in the mid running back 30s all throughout draft season. And look, I say this as someone that is absolutely okay drafting Kenneth Walker in round 4. Like I've said earlier this week, your 4th round picks are never going to be perfect. Okay. They're always going to have some flaws. Like Scott, I think this is something you've instilled in me a lot over the years. Like there's no, if a guy didn't have like, you know, people ask you, well, are you concerned about Kenneth Walker being able to stay on the field? I'm concerned about something about everybody in the 4th round. If I wasn't concerned, they'd be going to the damn 1st round. You know what I'm saying? So Kenneth Walker has issues in his profile, but I'm really high on this Seahawks rushing changeover here. The scheme that they're going to undergo, the change they're undergoing from Ryan Grubb last year, which was a mess, to this year with Clint Kubiak. So I want to get some exposure. Getting exposure with Kenneth Walker in the 4th round, I do think has a lot of ceiling to it. That being said, I think Charbonnet, again, is a dude. He can absolutely play. If you look at like his success rates and yards per carry on zone concept runs, which is what they're obviously a Kubiak is taking over here. That is what they're going to do. That is what they were doing over and over again in the preseason. He's had just as good as metrics as Kenneth Walker in those formats and those type of runs. And also, like this report that came out from Brady Henderson, our account tweeted this out as well, the Yahoo Fantasy handle. Kenneth Walker's issues and Zach Charbonnet's ongoing ability to impress the Seahawks, quote, suggests that the Seahawks backfield could be more of a timeshare than a typical starter backup arrangement. And like this makes so much sense to me, man, because if we're all sitting here talking about, yeah, Kenneth Walker, he's got injury issues, right? He can't really consistently stay on the field, and he's always dealing with something. We're managing him right now in the offseason. Well, why the hell would you not want to take some burden away from him, especially when you have a proven good number 2? So I think Charbonnet should be analyzed and projected and drafted in the same way of a guy that we just talked about in Jordan Mason.
Again, you hustled to the sheet, to the script before I did. So, you know, maybe that's good on you. Maybe that's bad on me. People can decide on that. Maybe I was actually having lunch or something. I was on the putting green.
You were probably out on the golf course, buddy. You actually have like something that resembles a life right now. I do not. So.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but I was off making my second career hole in one. Maybe that's it. Who's to say?
Yeah. Who's to say? Put the picture up of that on the pod, for God's sakes.
Yeah, but do we know that Kenneth Walker is better than Zach Charbonnet? Because last year, there's a lot of different ways to evaluate players, and some stats can have noise in them. But Charbonnet had better yards per carry, better yards per reception, better yards per touch, scored more touchdowns on less touches than Walker did. It's a new coaching staff or new offensive coaching staff with Kubiak. This is not to denigrate Walker, say he's a bad player. And the fact that Walker's needed to miss time his entire career, that's kind of standard with running backs anyway. So it's not that I'm a Kenneth Walker hater. It's just I see Charbonnet being just as interesting a player who goes later in drafts or around the same age. Charbonnet's a year younger. So I always thought that Charbonnet had a decent chance to maybe take over the job or be the head of the committee. Even if he gets it to 50-50, I'm always going to want that back who's the second guy, especially with all these efficiency stats suggesting that Charbonnet could be as good or better than Walker anyway. To me, and you know, when I disagree, you mentioned you were okay with Walker where he goes. And I know Justin Boone recently put something on social of 5 players he's targeting that thinks are going to really tilt leagues this year. And I agree with pretty much everybody. He said the one guy I didn't was Walker. And this is all based on my thinking that Charbonnet is just a much better pick. Makes a lot more sense from a cost, risk, upside perspective, just as an investment. You think about these things as investments. I just think you're getting maybe as much upside, and you're getting a lot more floor, and I'm sorry, not a lot more floor, but a lot more value where he goes. And I can't pull the trigger on Walker in round 4. I want to be available to take Charbonnet, and it's not going to be that much longer. And I even think, as we get close to draft season, I talked about the shape of the Minnesota ADPs. I just think Charbonnet is just going to keep gaining on Walker to the point that they almost become dog whistle players. What is a dog whistle player? That's when the first guy gets taken and then the rest of the room is on alert that if I want the other guy, I better act pretty soon. I would not at all be surprised last week of Yahoo drafts if there's only like maybe a round or round and a half of separation on these guys as they're seen really as a 1A, 1B. So yes, this is the classic eat this, not that. Draft this, not that. Draft Charbonnet. In my mind, do not draft Kenneth Walker.
Okay, yeah, because my read on it has been take one or the other. Don't take both, right? Don't do that.
No,
because
don't do that. Oh God, don't do that. You don't bunt. Yeah. I don't want you to bunt. I want you to swing for home runs.
Correct.
You're bunting when you take both guys. I hate that. Well, I got the backfield covered. It doesn't always work that way. And sometimes there's a running back we don't know about who is better than you think. And maybe Jalen Milroe has to play. He'll run a lot, take stuff off the table, or maybe just take the offense off, drive into a ditch somewhere. I want you to take the understudies, the contingency guys on other people's teams, right? And I know I mentioned in Buffalo, maybe if you had Cook, you might be looking at Davis. But really what you want to be is the Davis manager who spites Cook. You want to be the Charbonnet manager who spites Walker, right? That's what you want to be.
Yeah, 1,000%. That's exactly the way I would do it. So I'm not taking both, but I would take one or the other. And again, I have been okay with taking Kenneth Walker in the fourth round. I actually really like taking Kenneth Walker in the fourth round. So you and I do disagree a little bit on that. But again, just to make the point about how close these guys are as talents, you go back to the 2023 season, because last year, again, just such a poison rushing environment. I don't really love looking at the efficiency metrics there. So 2023, more of a real offense. On zone concept runs, according to Fantasy Points data, Kenneth Walker, 44.9% success rate, 4.05 yards per carry. Zach Charbonnet, 46.5% success rate, 4.14 yards per carry. Like, very similar players, right? So I think for Kenneth Walker, like big time backers, and I'm not quite all the way there, although I really like him in the fourth round. It's mostly an appeal to, well, every time these two guys have been out there, the coaching staff has just defaulted to always playing Kenneth Walker all the time. Well, guess what? This is a new staff. Like, this is a new offensive coordinator, and I think Clint Kubiak really likes Kenneth Walker, but I also think Clint Kubiak really likes Zach Charbonnet as well, and there's no reason for him not to. So I'm just not sure that holds a lot of water. And again, that quote that we threw up there, it makes so much sense. Like, if we're worried about Kenneth Walker's durability, why would we not want to get some Zach Charbonnet in the mix here? So I really like that analysis. And just real quick on the Jalen Milroe stuff, if he ever starts, yeah, you're playing him in fantasy. Like, that just is what it is. So I'm glad you mentioned the name there. Although we'll see, Drew Lock might be the actual backup quarterback there, so I don't want to go too crazy on the Milroe stuff.